is Alea's Hot Take, and we're welcome to episode number 1. So what is Alea's Hot Take? Alea's Hot Take is my opportunity to elevate Black women, plain and simply. I'm really here to guide your journey and to help facilitate your process as you access self-love, healing, liberation, and wholeness. That's what we're here for. So we're going to do all of that in 15 minutes or less. I'm not going to promise you that I will do this every day, but it is my intention to do this often because, why not? We need a world where Black women are elevated more, where you have the tips that you need, where you have the resources, and we just talk about the things that affect our lives. So for today's inaugural episode, I want to talk to you guys about this this documentary that I just saw today on Netflix, and it was called The Remix. The Remix was about Black women in particular, but Black people in general in the fashion industry, and how the fashion around hip hop really just ushered in this new culture, this new wave in a way that has never been seen before. So we've heard the story of Dapper Dan. We've heard the story of, just Puffy and Bad Boy and all of these different moguls at their time in the early 90s, late 80s, and how they really just reinvented the music game. But what the Remix does is it goes into the lives of particular artists and icons and talk about how they not only just changed the game, but also how they didn't necessarily get their due. So one person that I learned a lot more about than I ever knew was about Misa Hylton. So if you grew up at all in the 80s and 90s, you knew Misa. You might have known her as Puffy's baby mama. You might have known her as the girl in the videos. But what I didn't know was the fact that she was the brains and the brilliance behind all of the fashion that we saw at that time, that we attributed to Bad Boy, that we attributed to Jodeci, that we attributed to these men that were at the forefront. And I want to highlight Misa because often it's women like her that don't get their due. It's often women like her and women like us who often, might be the brainchild behind a program, or might be the ones that are really, behind the things that we see as icons, but many times people don't see that it's a Black woman. And then often what we see so much just with appropriation in general, that other folks, and y'all know what I'm talking about when I'm saying other folks, they get the accolades and the glory, and they end up benefiting from it financially and then also from a status place. So when I was thinking about that, I just couldn't help but to wonder, how come I never knew who Misa Hylton was at the time, even though I literally lived in New York in the 90s and the 2000s? How is it that a woman could have just this major status and not get her due? And it really boiled down to 4 lessons for me. And these are 4 lessons that I have for y'all today too on this quick hot take. The first thing is that you cannot be afraid to innovate and to iterate. Misa, I think, just tackled this head on. She took what was considered a men's industry at the time, especially in fashion and especially in hip hop, and thought about, how can I feminize this? How can I make this speak to the artists that I'm covering? How can I make this speak to the young girls that are seeing in the ad? How do I help women to see themselves not only in the fashion, but to see themselves in this world and to elevate themselves? So because of that, we now associate her look with Mary J. Blige. We even associate her look with Lil Kim. She was the brainchild behind Beyonce's Ape Shit video when it came to the MCM fashion. And so that's the first thing. I think so often that we are taught how to play safe, and we're taught how to get along to go along, or go along to get along, however you say that saying. And we are often afraid of iterating or innovating because we think that we won't be accepted. We think that that's going to rock the boat too much. We're afraid of what the naysayers are going to say. We're afraid of the blowback. But when I look at Misa, I realize because she was so daring to speak up for herself and to really channel her profession and channel her art and channel her vision in ways that no one else was able to do at the time, that she truly created a whole trend, a whole movement in the fashion world. And I'm not saying Misa was alone in that, but she was such a key innovator for women in particular in hip hop. So that's my first thing that I want y'all to take away from today. The second thing is, don't be afraid to elevate yourself. Now, I know I am preaching to the choir, and I know I'm giving y'all the message that I need to hear for myself, but as women, we often shy away from telling the world about what it is that we're doing. We often think that if we just operate in this meritocracy, which, side note, doesn't exist, that somehow we will be discovered, somehow we will be given our due, somehow we will get what we deserve. But in reality, when you don't elevate yourself, then somebody's going to swoop in, take take your ideas, take your brains, take all of your impact and repackage it for themselves. We see that so often. And so what I'm doing, what I'm daring to do, what I'm pushing you to do at the same time is to push yourself and to elevate yourself. Tell people what it is that you do. Do not think that you're getting on anybody's nerves to keep telling it every single day. Tell it to the new person. Tell it to the person in the grocery store. Put yourself out there, because the reality is, if you don't tell the story, then somebody's going to tell your story for you. And then when that happens, you don't have any control over what that story is or how that story is told. The other thing is, if you don't tell your story, then somebody else is going to swoop in and claim that message for themselves. And the third thing is, if you don't tell that story, then you are denying the world the impact of your voice and your unique self. So elevate yourself. That's take number 2. Take number 3, actually I already said it. Tell your story. Tell people about how you got to where you are. Be on the forefront of your journey. Be on the forefront of talking about your impact and your intent. And then last thing, as women especially, let's continue to put each other on. Because again, if we are waiting for someone to discover us, if you're waiting for someone to decide that you are worthy, you're going to be 89 years old as a woulda, shoulda, coulda, when in reality, we have so much power in ourselves. We have power in our expertise. We have power in our money. We have power in our position. And the more that we put each other on, the more that we don't have to worry about being discovered by these outsiders or these other folks waiting to decide that we're worthy. So let's go ahead and bring our community and bring our collective power together to put other Black women on. So that's my quick hot take today. Definitely go out and see Remix on Netflix. And if you like this content, you like this short and sweet, I'm going to ask you to do just 3 simple things. Like, subscribe, and sign up. Go to AleiaMcDaniel.com, sign up for the newsletters. You get a ton of great bonus content like my spiritual products for Black women, self-care guide, and more. And I can't wait to see your comments, thoughts, and that's it for this week, or for today, not this week. I'll be back later on this week. Take care.